Hello, welcome to the Ghost Pepper Lollipop, where the takes are spicy, the host is sweet, and we engage multiple things can be true at the same time and often are. I hope you all are well. I hope you've had a good week. I apologize for bailing out on all of my stuff this weekend. I have some chronic things, some disability things, and I got into a pain cycle that I could not escape out of last week. I'm doing a little bit better. They gave me a steroid injection that's doing some work, and I'm hoping that we can get some more of that sort of thing going soon. But I'm doing my best. I have my TENS unit set and ready, so we will turn that on when we need it. It's so good to see y'all. The steroid injection is doing some work. Yeah. I mean, I can roll from side to side now, which is something I couldn't do before, and I can bend to small degrees now. Uh, my back is out. It's basically what it amounts to. Is my back got thrown out from doing nothing. I did nothing to throw it out. I slept. Apparently, and that's something I also, we could use some help getting a new mattress, because apparently what threw my back out is that my mattress is too soft. So, if y'all want to help with my emotional labor by helping me get a new mattress, we would appreciate it, because I'm sleeping on the floor, y'all. I am currently floor bound. I'm not even lying to you. I could turn the camera and show you, because I'm even sleeping on the floor in the office because it's so tight in here. But anyway, that's where we're at. It's hilarious. It's fine. It's fine. Actually, it's not funny, but I don't know. It's funny it's not ha-ha funny. I don't know. It is what it is. It's fine. Today, we are going to be looking at the Neo-American Christian Imperialist Project, also known as Project 2025, Between Calls. However, I'm going to get us switched over to our loveliest call-in scene, because we have a phone number. You can call in and discuss things with me. Oh, I changed this thing. Let me fix this, because I did adjust this, and I think I prefer the new one. So let me do this real quick. Let me adjust this. I need a new one. There we go. Okay, why did you get ginormous? That's why. I didn't need you to be all ginormous. That was unreasonable, new prompt window. Apparently I did not size the new prompt window for this. Here we go. New prompt window. Prompt window. You're being unruly. Alright. Hopefully that is fucking visible. Boom. Na. Whoa! Hello! So good to see you. We are having a call-in. This is the information that you'll need to call in. I apologize for that little scene abrupt. I forgot that I switched my little prompt thing, and I forgot to readjust it before today. My bad. My very, very bad. These are our call-in prompts. If you would like to discuss any one of them with me, call the number 720-927-6768, extension 800. Otherwise, we will soon get into a discussion about the Neo-American Christian imperialists. And we will be looking at, after we discuss a few aspects of it, we will be looking at Life Take 2. She did a really good piece about this, and considering she used to be MAGA, that's probably who we should listen to about what it's going to look like. So good to see you all. I missed you all this weekend. I missed you so much. My beautifulest purple team, I really did. I felt so bad that I didn't get to hang out with my beautifulest purple team. It was so sad for me. I did miss you, like, a lot. I really did. I don't want you to think I didn't. I really, really did. You would not have wanted to be around me. I mean, the little bit that people did see me this weekend was probably horrendous for them. I would, like, make it into the Discord for, like, 5 minutes and then, like, have to dip out and be like, I can't function. Arthritis is evil. It's evil. Arthritis is just evil. It's the meanest thing. But apparently that's what threw my back out, is arthritis. However, I was having the issue with I didn't like the muscle relaxer that I used to be given, and so they changed that. So that is a difference. It could be good. Well, it's good. Except for they put me to sleep. I don't like taking any of them. They put me to sleep. Alright. Medication. And then we move forward. Let's do this. I made a sort of mini outline for today. I'm just medicating real quick before and getting my shit straight before we get into it. Also, if you would like to discuss any of those prompts on the screen, 720-927-6768, extension 800. You can tell me I'm wrong. You can. Oh, I didn't realize the dragon is like, they can't see the prompts. Here we go. Dragon has to cover me, not the prompts. He has to cover my face. There we go. Alright. I don't take opiates, so every now and again I just have to medicate a little bit, y'all. However, here we go. Our prompts. I don't even... Hang on, let me grab this other thing before I get... Just get my act together here. Let's do this act together thing. Right, so... Prompt number 1. Christian God is evil. If you don't believe me or disagree with me and you want to tell me why I'm wrong, there's a phone number, 720-927-6768, extension 800. Christian God also endorses slavery because, you know, he's evil. Christian God also endorses treating women and children as property because, you know, he's evil. The Christian God has a fragile ego, which may be what's causing him to be evil. Maybe his insecurities are what make him, like, need to lash out and attack. We could discuss it. Call in. Christianity and the spread of it is harmful. It's damaging. And that's part of what we'll be discussing today about these Neo-American Christian imperialist assholes. And also, it's all men until it's no men. It's all men until it's no men. Because it's 95.1% of you, so it may as well be all of you. So it's all men until it's no men. And let's not forget that men choose violence instead of critical thinking and inflection. That's a choice men make. Also, men are homosocial, swimming around in the bog of eternal stench like they're freaking Kennedys. I swear to mercy. Yes, they are the bad guy in the book, Team Snake. Yes, let's go, Team Snake. Danger noodles are something I'm deeply terrified of, and I'm over here, Team Snake! And my wife is probably going, yeah, right. She's like, I've seen you and a snake. I gave the snake the whole area. The snake was like, rattle, 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 fuck off, you need to leave, human. And I was like, okay, I'm out. It's your space. You're right. It's your space. It's not my space. I'll go. I gave them. I gave them all the space. I gave them the entire glitter fucking park, Maddie. I gave them the whole damn park. Yeah, no, I have a snake trauma from when I was little. For one, like, I have a memory of, like, a copperhead, not a copperhead, a cottonmouth, like, trying to, like, hissing at me, and I was told that they would chase me, so in my mind, I was chased by it. And also, like, when I was really little, I'm from Wyoming, so we used to go arrowhead hunting and rock hounding and different things when I was little. And we hunted and stuff, just because of who we are as people, my family. And I walked up on a rattlesnake nest, and I was really little, and so it just caused a really severe trauma response and trauma memory. So now I can't even, like, handle seeing danger noodles. They send me off into another land. I can't handle it. So that is where I am. But yes, the rattle is a boundary, and when it rattled, I was like, okay, no, this park is yours. You're right. You're right. You live here. I don't. I'll just leave now. I'm gonna go. I hear you. You said for me to leave. I will fuck off now. Watch me fuck off, please. And that is what I did. I did not walk by it. I did not walk past it. I turned around and I went back and found a new way to go because it said to stop, don't go that way. And I was like, okay, as you say, Snack, you said don't go that way. That way is the way I will not go. Okay, it is all yours. I am very afraid of danger noodles. Like, deep bad trauma that is giving me a little bit of panic just thinking about it. Exactly, Ro. I get it, Snake. You're the boss here. Watch me fuck off. Off I fuck. I love y'all. Thank you for getting it. So anyway. It is Thursday. We're taking calls. We are Team Snack, even though I'm afraid of Snack. We are Team Snack. And if you disagree with any of those prompts, you may call me and tell me I am wrong at 720-927-6768, extension 800. Because for some weird reason, they require me to have an extension. I have no idea why, and, you know, maybe it's just to make me feel special. Maybe it's a special thing, and maybe I'm just supposed to feel special by that very, very lovely extension. I really want to know how to change it to 666, though. I think that would be hilarious, and I would probably never get a call if I did. They'd be too afraid to dial 666. That is how pitiful they are. Their Sky Daddy said those numbers are bad. You're not allowed to touch those numbers. Wild. All right. Today, we're going to talk about a patriarchal project that we haven't really discussed much here, and it will be influenced throughout stuff. I mean, I've talked with a lot of you in other spaces and things about Project 2025 in different contexts, but we've never really had a discussion here. So we're going to do that today. We are going to look at what these NACI, I mean, it's almost Nazi again, but neo-American Christian imperialists want, how far into their plan they've gotten, and we're going to look at what it actually is. And for me, it is almost a recolonization, almost like a second colonization. And that's kind of what it is, because I mean, look at what they're doing in Gaza and etc. So beginning there, we have to understand what colonization is. So if we're going to begin by calling this a project of colonization, or recolonization, or new colonization, I don't know, neo-colonization, whatever it is, if we're going to associate this aspect to it, the first thing we have to understand is what the fuck is colonization. So colonization is the act or process of a foreign power, state, or group establishing control over a territory and its people, often through settlement of its own people, exploitation of resources, and imposition of political, economic, and cultural power. It typically involves subjugation of the indigenous and often involves genocide of the indigenous. Now, the thing that we often look at in colonization is just moving people in to a place and having them live there and take over. And that is what we're accustomed to. That's what the Brits did here in the United Snakes of America, which, by the way, subjugation of the indigenous peoples here was genocide. There used to be over 2,500 different peoples here on Turtle Island. And now there are about 600 different peoples. We have never been one people. We have always been peoples with an S. They eradicated nearly 2,000 nations of people in order to colonize the United Snakes of America. And in so doing, they did genocide upon the indigenous peoples here. The same way that the Israelis are doing genocide upon the Gazan people, the Palestinian people. They moved in, they claimed the territory, they've named it their thing, calling it their thing, saying that the Palestinians are invalid, etc., that their God gave them the right, their evil, evil, evil Abrahamic God, who loves to just tell them they can hurt anyone they want, they can enslave anyone they want. Moved people in and settled them there. That is, of course, what we're most accustomed to. That's the type of colonization that when we think colonizer, that's the kind we think in our mind. That makes sense. We know what that is. That happened here. That's happening in Palestine. There are other types of colonization, and that's why I think it's important that we open this discussion today. If nobody's going to call in and argue the points with me, let's open the discussion today on colonization, because there are other aspects of it than settlement. Snakes can have their own team. I'll be Team Lilith. I love it. Let's go. Exploitation of resources is another aspect of colonization. And this is an aspect of colonization that I don't think is getting enough attention at present, because it's something that's happening right now across the world that the United Snakes is doing because of the patriarchs in power. Now, keep in mind, the patriarchs, while men think they're the patriarchs of their family and everything, they're not patriarchs. They are just the tools of the patriarchy. The patriarchs are the ones wielding the power to do all of these heinous, awful things. The patriarchs are the ones that are using your willingness to manufacture consent for them to do awful things because you don't want to actually fix the problem. So, exploitation of resources is something that we're seeing right now through Venezuela, through Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, and etc. The United Snakes and Israel are trying to gain control over resources, particularly oil and gas. They don't want renewable energy and etc. How they plan to survive this planet without it, I don't know, and they have some idea of escaping or something. So there's an exploitation of resources that is happening now. So there is colonization going on currently. And the United States is again at the forefront of this colonization. There is also the imposition of political, economic, and cultural power. Now, this is where it comes in, where we've messed up for generations and where we've ignored things for too long. We have always acted like world police, to the extent that so much of MAGA, or the NACI, Neo-American Christian Imperialists, so much so that they feel as though they are entitled to it, as though this country is the moral authority that should be able to speak to what other nations are permitted and not permitted to do. To the extent that we break down governments and break down nations and cause immeasurable harm in order to maintain this hierarchical system, this patriarchal system over the entire world. And used to, it was done quietly. It was done kind of on the DL. It was done sly. There were little ways they went about it and danced about the issue. Now they're going mask off and just full on showing you. Because they've been able to manufacture consent. They know that people want that easy button so bad. They want that one simple solution so bad that they know that people won't do the multitude of diverse tactics it'll take to stop it. They know that the white people in privilege, the white people with unearned privilege, the white people that are accustomed to getting their way, they know that they will not give up that privilege in order to stand up for others, and they count upon that. And they are manufacturing consent to do harm. When the United States gets called a melting pot, what they expect is for a homogenization to happen. They assume and expect for indigenous peoples, migrants, and etc. to give up their own cultures, their own backgrounds, their own histories, and become homogenized. They expect that even though this colonizing supremacist society is taking from everywhere and not giving back, this society expects these people to give to it, to grant them use of their culture without, in order to make money and capitalize on. We are at the breaking point of capitalism. We are at the breaking point of every world power in history that has come even close to our size or our power structure. We are at the 250-year mark, at which point all of them collapse. Now keep in mind, these people are telling us that this patriarchal system is how it's supposed to be, that's how nature is, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. And yet, this faith and this religion that's doing all of this has only existed for about 2,000 years, maybe 2,500 years, give or take. And the human species has existed for 350,000 years. So this is a blip. This is definitely something we can get rid of. We can decide, hey, you know, this doesn't really work for us. We don't want to go extinct. We're going to stop this shit. And that's where y'all come in, men. That's where y'all come in. Y'all have to change the way that y'all socialize. Y'all have to decide to get out of those homosocial bubbles, to climb out of the bog of homosocial stench and swim in more pansocial waters. So, what drives this need to colonize? What is driving these patriarchs to want to colonize and take over? Well, 3 things. It always comes down to 3 things when we're looking at these people that believe might makes right. When we're looking at these people that want obedience and control over respect and collaboration. It's always 3 things. It comes down to God, gold, and glory. They want to please their glob Because if they please their glob, they believe that he will allow them to live forever in some way, shape, or form. Whether or not they have to have all the parts of them scooped out that glob doesn't like or not, they are with that. They want to go forward and be scooped out. Gold. Money corrupts everything. It once you start getting too much access to unearned to that kind of privilege and that kind of excess, and you grow accustomed to it, it starts corrupting you. Look at every one of the creators that you have seen go from leftist to center. Now, I know you can name 5 or 6 of them just off the top of your dome. The last one is glory. And glory is wild because they find glory in all of the most heinous acts, in my opinion. And that, in my opinion, is also because of mass socialization. They find glory in subjugation, conquer, and oppression of those they can deem lesser, those they can objectify. And they're always looking to objectify other people because that is how they maintain their feelings of superiority. That's why you have so much objectification. That's why women are continually objects, is because that's the only way men can hold on to the feeling of superiority, is if women aren't people to them. As soon as women are people and they have to treat women like people, they have to understand the balance and the fact that we are as smart or smarter in many cases, as capable, and etc. As soon as they do that, as soon as they have to acknowledge that equality can exist there, they lose the ability to feel superior. And they hold on to the feeling of superiority because that is glory for them. And they've been taught through homosocial mask socialization to seek glory, to seek out might, to seek out physical strength and prowess. It's why mask socialization is so harmful. It's why how we socialize in general as people is so harmful, because femme socialization is no less harmful. Teaching girls to be damsels and frail and fragile and manipulate to not die is a wild way to deal with the fact that men choose violence instead of collaboration. Now, the things that the 3Gs bring to the discussion and to these men and to the are resources, economic gain, and power, because they don't really care about people and society as a whole and us existing as a species. They care about themselves and how them and their small group gets by. And they know that they're a social species, which is why they manipulate one another within that group up at the top there. They're just as miserable. Don't get it twisted. Those people are not happy. So they are always fighting over resources, economics, and power. And they were always tossing power around. Now, the reason why they are okay with bending knees to each other is because they're able to otherize everybody at the bottom. Everybody that they have deemed to be other, they get to step on. And so it's okay, in their opinions, for them to take orders from and be stepped on a little bit because, you know, they get to go and step on somebody later and that'll make up for it. And it's this transactional abuse cycle. The impact of colonization, both of whether we're discussing colonization of peoples on a continent or women in a society or any other demographic you can imagine, the first impact is displacement, giving them no place to go to be safe. That's impact number one. And that is something that they are doing currently right now. This neo-American Christian imperialist party, that is what they're doing now. They are making it unsafe for migrants to exist. They are displacing them into concentration camps. They have now stated that trans people, trans allies, and trans education people are also terrorists, and that is likely who they will be putting in camps next. They are telling you what they are going to do. And cishet white people, you are going to have to be the ones to stand up, particularly you men that have lived with this unearned privilege. And I don't care that you didn't ask for it. You have it. Wield it to save people. I get it. Those in power are scary. Don't think I don't know. I've lived with it my whole life. Stand up before they come for you too, because they will come for you too. Violence is the next impact. And violence comes in multiple forms. It's another thing that we don't often discuss well. We don't discuss that violence comes in multiple forms. There's economic violence, psychological violence. There's, oh my goodness, the violence of starvation. There's deprivation, neglect. There's all kinds of violence. And we always assume that it's the violence that they have the monopoly on, which is physical violence. But let's be real. They allow white men of power to have violence and use violence as a tool all the time. It's why only about 3% of rapes are ever prosecuted, because they're allowed to wield violence in a certain way. The next impact is manufactured consent. So what they're doing now with all of this trans legislation and putting it up on the news and making sure it's in the forefront of everybody's mind, making sure that everybody is watching, they are manufacturing consent to do to trans people what they have already done to migrants. They already feel as though they have gotten the consent, and they largely have, because people aren't standing outside of every detention center demanding that the migrants be released. And because they aren't, they have consent to keep them there. Because people aren't out there all the time making sure that it is known that there are people, there are children in those buildings that are being mistreated because we aren't doing anything about it, because white people are sitting back and going about their little privileged days. Those people are now just part of the manufactured consent process. By not standing up to have them released, you consent to their being imprisoned. By not standing up to tear down the laws they are trying to put on the books against trans people and queer people and etc., you are manufacturing consent for them to harm us. You are manufacturing consent for them to lock us in cages. You are manufacturing consent for them to kill us. By continuing to use TikTok, who is gathering information and giving it to the government who wants to do these things, you are manufacturing consent for harm of AFAB people, people with uteruses, and trans people. That is part of the impact. That is part of this type of colonization. And that is what they mean to do. These neo-American Christian imperialists want to recolonize this place, rewrite it. They know that it's about to collapse, and they mean to rewrite what it means. They have a plan, they put it in writing, and we were like, that can't happen here. Everybody's like, yeah, no, it won't happen here, no, and went about drinking their mimosas, and here we are. The next part after they manufacture consent is they put in place oppressive systems, which you already see. The concentration camps that are housing migrants are oppressive systems. They are having to pay $38 for a case of like 12 waters or go dehydrated. Can you afford $38 for a case of water? How much water do you need to drink in a day? What does it cost you for a gallon of water? So, Project 2025 is where all of this comes from. And we had access to it. But so many people wanted to dig their heads in the sand and ignore the hard discussion that we didn't get to have the discussion of what this actually means and what this actually looks like. And so everybody said, you're fear mongering, nah, 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 and ignore this, ignore that, etc., etc., etc. I want to show y'all, because there have been people tracking this, I want to show you how far they've gotten. I want you to see how much success they've had while we went back to drinking our mimosas. This is the Project 2025.observer site. This is how much progress towards the Handmaid's Tale they've gotten done since Trump gained office. In just over a year, this is how much they have been able to set us back as a society. Let's look. So we're looking, they have 320 projects mentioned in Project 2025. 136 of those they have completed. And there are 69 currently in progress. Now, I want you to consider how long it takes the Dems and your average feckless fucker to change the things that become implemented, the things that become normalized. Six objectives with USAID complete. Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Done. Complete. Shoot. Sorry. I clicked on something. This reduces regulations on cryptocurrencies. Money's already bad enough, y'all. But you take regulations off of what can be considered money, and you cause chaos. And they are using this as ways to do insider trading. How do I get back out of here? Oh, okay. Ha! Figured it out. So, they have reduced U.S. force posture in Europe. That takes us out of allyship, by the way. That's a way of sort of soft declaring being an adversary. They have weakened federal employee unions. By weakening federal employee unions, they have weakened all employee unions. They have weakened all labor rights. And currently, as it stands, AI is going to put everyone out of jobs. If we do not move to some sort of socialist system, AI is going to put everyone out of jobs. That's just the way it is. Between AI and robots, nobody will have jobs. So I'm going to put this link in the chats because I think that it is valuable to everyone to go check this out. You don't know what you're fighting against until you look at what you're fighting against. And they put it in writing. We got access to it. You have to understand what they're trying to do to understand how they're doing it. And it should terrify everyone that this is their overall progress. They are over halfway there. We are a year in, and they are over halfway there. How many years do y'all think it'll take the Dems to undo this stuff? Are they doing anything to stand up now? Do you see anybody standing up for the people now? Who's out there standing up for the people in those concentration camps? Who's making sure that immigrants aren't having to pay $38 for a case of water? Because that's all that does is manufacture consent for them to eventually charge you $38 for a case of water. Can you afford $38 for a case of water, chat? Is that something you can afford? You got those kind of funds laying around? Negative 30 years to start anything. That's where I'm at as well. That's why it is time to stand up. All right. Now that we have discussed I want you to hear from the person that knows this most, that knows this best because they used to be a part of this movement. I want you to listen to Life Takes Two. Or people can stop being cowards and call in and have a discussion with me and tell me why I'm wrong. I mean, his choice is yours. I give you the choice. It's all yours. I let you choose. You get to choose. Now is your only time to choose. Choose now. Choose now. Yes, those of you over on... Actually, let me do this real quick. Those of you over on Purple Team, I love you. Thank you for being here. If you don't want ass, jump over on the green side and get out of that. Otherwise, everybody that is here, there is an emotional labor aspect, and I do seriously have an issue that I need help with. I threw out my back, and it's going to continue to go thrown out repeatedly over and over until I get a new mattress, apparently, because my mattress is too soft, and that's a thing that can happen. So if you want to help me get a new mattress, I have one picked out, but it's like $300. It's a very firm mattress. Anyway, if you don't like ass, jump over to the kick side. It's flat in the back, no ass ever over there. It's kind of fantastic. Let's move forward and look at what Life Takes Two has to say about the neo-American Christian imperialist movement. And how wild is it that their movement is so close to the other one's moniker? I mean, wild, almost like they're really fucking similar. All right, let me get us. Oops, I have to adjust this one sound real quick. Otherwise, we will have double sounds, and nobody wants that. Nobody. All right, y'all, let's do this. Let's hear from Life Take Two. If you want to shut this up and discuss things with me, you can call in 720-927-6768, extension 800. Until then, we are going to listen to this content creator tell us about the neo-American Christian imperialist movement.
And the people of Venezuela, they say if I ran for president of Venezuela, I'm polling higher than anybody has ever polled in Venezuela. So after I'm finished with this, I can go to Venezuela. I will quickly learn Spanish. It won't take too long. I'm good at language. And I will go to Venezuela. I'm going to run for president.
I'm Jenny Gage, and this is Life Take Two.
People keep talking about MAGA crumbling. There's thumbnails all over YouTube that say things like MAGA's imploding, MAGA's in collapse. Every night you turn on the news and there's news stories about new research that shows that there are less people who identify as MAGA than ever before. I've done a few videos of my own. I'll link one of those in the description. I work with Rich over at leavingmaga.org. We track the numbers of people that come into the website. And I think he told me last week that he had a dozen people reach out to him saying that they wanted help leaving MAGA. We have these leaving MAGA billboards going up all over the country. I think they're so entertaining. They're really simple. They say things like, having doubts, you're not alone, leavingmaga.org. Rich texted me last week to tell me that he's putting one right here in Phoenix, as close to Erica Kirk's house as possible. He's making one of my dreams come true. Here's the cold hard truth. People aren't leaving MAGA and turning into little anti-MAGA Jennies. I'm an anomaly. These people are just breaking up with Donald Trump. They still see liberalism as evil. They are still the same people that they ever were. They hate me. And MAGA 2.0 keeps me up at night. You want to know why it keeps me awake? Because I spent the first almost 50 years of my life living inside this movement. Here's the cold, hard, and verifiable truth. MAGA isn't dying, it's evolving, and it's already here. In this video, I'm going to attempt to paint the picture for you of exactly what MAGA 2.0 is. And nobody else is going to tell you this because they don't understand. I want to take.
This is why it's so important to be looking at all sides. This is why it's so important not to allow ourselves to be stuck in echo chambers. And I'm going to tell you, from doing the research that I do on this patriarchy project and stuff, there's a lot of emotional labor to it, and it is painful sometimes. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend that it's not. It is. It's deeply hard to deal with, and you don't understand all sides of it until you hear their side. You don't understand or have the information to connect the dots of what they want accomplished if you do not hear them out, if you do not hear their perspective. It's why I listen to Red Pill Men's content. It's deeply disturbing. It's always upsetting, and I have a better understanding of what they're mad about. I probably have a better understanding of what they're mad about because I can see I have taken the time to look at both perspectives. Do I understand their perspective of it entirely? No, I can't be them. I can't have their subjective experience. And that doesn't mean I can't empathize. I can't sympathize. I can't see the issues that they face as well. It doesn't mean that I can't go in and reflect with full information and find ways to help them resolve these sorts of things from an outside perspective. And sometimes that is useful and helpful. And when we're up against deeply damaging things, we have to understand the entire issue. If you do not call a thing by its proper name, it's not going to respond to you. And if you do not apply the proper correction to an issue, the issue will not correct.
Take a moment here to ask for your support for this little passion project of mine that I call Life Take Two on YouTube. I'm a solo content creator. I spent almost 5 decades of my life living inside.
She is a good content creator, and if you can support her, you should. Before I forget, let me give you all this link because it is worth, if you don't get to watch it all here or just watch it again, go like, subscribe, all the things. She's a really good content creator, and it is an emotional labor for her to unpack all of the stuff, especially her problems and issues, the things that she got wrong and those things. That is deeply painful to unpack. And so that we can take that into recognition while also understanding how problematic she probably used to be. All of us have a history and a past. And when we get people like this that are willing to show us the other side through their change and be honest through that and about their aspects and the harmful things that they did, we need to try to embrace those people as much as possible. So please be kind, and when you go over there, say something nice in the comments and boost her in a good way, because this is not easy. It is not easy to go and say, I messed up, I was a messy person, I did this, that, and the third. That is not easy. And then we know that's not easy. I'm telling you, I know that's not easy. I know that it's never, ever going to be easy to unpack the patriarchy to unpack mask socialization. I know that's not going to be easy. I know that's painful. I know unpacking Christianity is painful. By the way, Recovering from Religion is doing, the Line is doing a big fundraiser, and this is like fundraiser season for them. So Recovery from Religion is doing a big fundraiser. If I will get y'all that link, but if you can go and give them your love and affection and any dollars, they do help people that are trying to unpack this, and they have as much as, to the best of their ability, they try to have 24-hour helplines and things. So if y'all can give them some affection and love, that would be beautiful of you, because they are out there doing good work to help people unpack really damaging, unhealthy dynamics that hurt them when they have to unpack them. Deconstruction is never easy. So deconstruction from religion is not going to be a painless process. Just like deconstructing from the patriarchy is never going to be a painless process. We're going to have to work through the pain. And sometimes that sucks. And we build communities where we make that possible and safe. All right, go give her love. Thank you for listening to my rant.
The extreme alt-right so I could bring my firsthand insider knowledge to you. I write all my own scripts. There's no writing team. There's no AI helper that's doing this stuff for me. I do all my own investigating and editing and posting and obviously filming and everything. So please give me a little love so we can prevent the Utah Handmaid's Tale that Erica Kirk has in store for us.
Same goes to me. I do all my own stuff as well. It is a lot. And so if you can support small creators, please do, especially smaller femme creators and non-binary creators and trans creators. We're the ones that they want to silence the most. So, lift our voices. That is another way that you can help us beat this.
By simply liking, subscribing, commenting, interacting with these videos, sharing them with your friends, and joining my Blue Wave movement with me. Back to MAGA 2.0, the plan to turn America into the real handmaids of Utah. MAGA 1.0 and 2.0 and 3.0 and 4.0, when they come along, is neo-American Christian imperialism. NACI, should we call it NACI? NACI? I don't know, but that's what MAGA is. That's its core. All of the work.
Now, it's very important, this new moniker and what she's saying, this evolution of MAGA. This is very important. And I think that she is definitely giving inside information here. And so I want you to pay very close attention to what this means. Remember the moniker NACI, Neo-American Christian imperialists, okay? So not only is it really similar to the Nazi moniker, it is also, they are also going to evolve something here. So New American Christian. So this, I am thinking of a hyper purity culture jump. The next step would be to jump purity culture into hyperactivity, which is why they're making so many laws regulating the bodies of women. So pay close attention, chat.
Words are important. Neo-American Christian imperialism. We have to have all of them. And that is actually what Trump meant when he said, "Make America great again."
This is also why we began with colonization as the topic, because imperialism is colonization. They are requiring the entire world to comply with them. So this is bigger than even just America. This is bad.
Great was the original exceptionalism that the colonies of America were founded on. Top of the hierarchy were the best of the best. The word again obviously is looking in that rearview mirror back in the day, and Trump and his supporters were looking at a very specific day in American history. They all fantasize about an era before the revolution. America was founded as part of an empire. We read the stories in school and we're like, we never wanted to be an empire. Everyone knew it was going to turn into this giant modern democracy. But no, that's not true at all. We need to stop projecting our knowledge of the present onto the peoples of the past. America.
Well, and just like we assume our morals and ethics should be held by those in power now and we assign them to them, we do the same to historical people. And we can't afford to do that. When people tell us who they are, we need to believe them.
Was colonies of an empire. For the purposes of our discussion around MAGA, I want to focus on two key aspects of empires: dominance and expansion. Go watch my other video on that topic. I think it'll be a real eye-opener for you. For a couple hundred years, we, as an arm of the British Empire, committed genocide, blazed trails, stoned women to death for witchcraft, trafficked labor and slaves, taxed
All aspects of colonization.
the hell out of the poor, and did all kinds of other horrible things. Empires are fundamentally opposed to equality and coexistence. The hierarchy is everything, king and country. We talk about the founding fathers a lot, and there's a lot of confusion because people aren't educated and just don't know their history. I have so many comments that state that the founding fathers came to America to worship God. Nope. That's the Pilgrims. Many of our early colonists were, in fact,
The founding fuckers came here because they were sent here, a lot of them, because they were assholes and their own countries didn't want them.
religious fanatics who left their homelands to come to America and continue their religious fanaticism, but they were not the founding fathers. Let's touch on these early colonies. Roanoke, the very first British colony, was sponsored by Sir Walter Raleigh under Queen Elizabeth I, and the goals were very practical. The economic goals were find resources, establish trade, potentially locate gold and silver, because this was the era of gold and silver. The British Empire needed that so that they could fund themselves. There were some strategic goals around creating a base to challenge Spanish power in the Americas. Spain got here first. They were spreading rapidly, so we needed that outpost. The main objective of the Roanokes was expansion, plant that English foothold in the New World.
The English foothold and the foothold for their religion. Because remember, with their colonization, because they are tying it to their Christian roots, or however they want to say that, that is an aspect of it. So don't forget, it's the 3 G's: God, gold, and glory. Okay, so it's their religious hierarchy, their oppressive system that they get to govern people with, their financial gain, their access to resources, and their ability to feel superior, their ability to maintain power and control and subjugation over others.
Was some religious background because England was Protestant and they were knowingly competing against Catholic Spain, but religion was not by any means the main driver of Roanoke. The first attempt to settle Roanoke was 1585. The second attempt in 1587 resulted in the lost colony. We have no idea where those people ever went.
We actually do have some idea where the lost colony went. It's just that colonizers don't really like to be honest about what happened. We know that the lost colony was absorbed into the nations that lived in the area. How do we know that? How do we know that, Pepper? Well, because when they came back, there were indigenous peoples that had European traits. There were what they would later turn to call half-breeds in those woods and in those areas. They were adopted in because the truth about what happened when the colonizers came is the colonizers were dying. They weren't able to survive here, and the nations took pity upon them because they saw them as people and not the monsters and people suits they would turn out to be. And instead of throwing them out to sea with their boats, they healed them, they fed them, they taught them to survive. I appreciate you being here, ATS. Thank you so much. I hope that you are having a good day. Steal as many minutes as you can.
The outcome was terrible. Everyone disappeared. There was no lasting settlement. So the British Empire gave it another whack with Jamestown. Jamestown was the same as Roanoke, colonized for the empire and to dominate America. But again, it didn't push religion per se. Jamestown was 16.
And by the time they came to Jamestown, there were people that on the continent that could speak English. There was enough trade and etc. that there were people that could speak English. We have historical accounts.
1607, the business that funded it was the Virginia Company. Then Plymouth happened in 1620 after Jamestown was successful, and it was purely religiously motivated. This was the Pilgrims. These colonies, they are the roots of MAGA, and their goals and objectives are what MAGA means by MAGA.
And remember, Plymouth, that is where Plymouth, Salem, that is where they burned women. That is where they burned scientists. That is where they burned anyone that questioned their right to rule in the name of their glob with an iron fist.
Make America Great Again. MAGA is Neo-American Christian Imperialists. NACI. NACI? Let me know how we're going to pronounce this. People think that these guys,
I am voting on pronouncing it nasty. Yes, I know that there's no ST in it, but it doesn't matter. I have no respect for the English language. Why do I have to have respect for how you pronounce a C? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I ain't saying anything. I'm saying.
old American Christian imperialists are the founding fathers. But they think that because they aren't educated. I wasn't.
I prefer refer to them as the founding fuckers. They betrayed people that kept them alive. They betrayed people that tried to become community with them. They are founding fuckers. They are fathers of nothing.
MAGA is the worst at education because they want to control the narrative. When I was part of this community, I was given the history according to Joseph Smith. Here it is. Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ made America with their bare hands, placed Adam and Eve in the garden right here in Jackson County, Missouri. They ate the fruit and fell. Fast forward to Jesus, who was going to return again to rule and reign America from Adamant, Jackson County, Missouri, where Adam and Eve were.
Rule and reign. Those are important words. And it's really, really telling that she uses those words because they are the correct words. And that tells you that her system, or it's not her system now, the system, the cult that she used to be a part of, the cult that groomed her, knows what they're doing. Yes, Ro, yes. Unfortunately, the neo-American Christian imperialists are deeply, sadly, and twistedly connected to that particular historical ass face.
After Jesus, Heavenly Father led Christopher Columbus across the sea so that he could reestablish religion right here in the Americas, and eventually George Washington, who was inspired by God to write the Constitution so that he could support freedom of religion so the Mormon Church could be founded here in America. That was real life history for me. Holy shit. It's insane stuff. So John Smith, William Bradford, who was the Mayflower captain, John Carver, these guys were not the founding fathers. They were British imperialists, literally. If you asked them, they wouldn't tell you they were founding a new nation. No, they were expanding the empire and dominating the continent in the name of their God-sanctioned king. Amen, amen.
And it is incredibly important for people to discuss the true history here as well, because it was not taxation without representation that drove the tea off the ship. It was none of those oppressive king telling me that I can't do what I want lies that they sold you. The things that they were told that they would no longer be permitted to do, that they were fighting back against, were twofold. One, they would not be permitted to colonize beyond the Appalachians. All land west of the Appalachians would be left to the indigenous. There was a proclamation made, and they hated that. They did not want to stop colonizing this land. They wanted to go further west. They demanded that they be able to, and that is one of the real reasons why they sent T off that ship. It had nothing to do with fucking taxes. The other reason is in that same proclamation that declared that they would no longer be permitted to colonize beyond the Appalachians. They would also no longer be permitted to do chattel slavery. Those are the things that drove America to exist. Those are the things they fought against. It had nothing to do with religious freedom. It had nothing to do with taxation without representation. It had to do with their unearned privilege and their self-proclaimed entitlement to this continent.
That was their story. That was what they were doing. That's how we rolled for almost 200 years. We were a dominating, expanding empire under the crowns of Jesus and the monarch. It was a shit show, but an effective shit show. They were all winning it, dominating and expanding, and many lives were destroyed.
It's only been an effective shit show because they've been able to wrap themselves in veils of innocence. They have, until the age of information, the age of honesty, they have been able to wrap themselves in cloaks of innocence. They have been able to say that their glob is good and loving, and they can't do that anymore. We discussed the truth about their glob being an evil asshole. We discussed the truth about him being a pedo. We just discussed the truth about it now. And they want to end that ability. They want to bring back purity culture too, but they want to bring it back in the most oppressive way imaginable. Because they know that us being able to speak honestly about these things are dangerous to their movement. And that is why they bought out TikTok, to suppress your speech, to get you used to it, to get you to manufacture consent so they could take it forward and suppress your speech elsewhere, to suppress your ideas, to suppress the ability to have this discussion. They want you broken and bleeding because then you are compliant and obedient.
By the British Empire in the Americas for almost 200 years. They built cities like Boston and New York, Charleston. They built companies, trade routes, families, homes, churches. They colonized, civilized, and the weight of the empire began to take its toll in numerous ways. And this is where the founding fathers come in. They were not the first white dudes from England to set foot on Turtle Island, the Tohono O'odham Nation, the Nez Perce Kingdom, what would become the Americas. The founding fathers weren't pilgrims on a religious mission to start a kingdom for God Almighty. They were actually part of a wave of anti-religious philosophers, which were the result of the Enlightenment, which spanned roughly 1685 to 1815, depending on the historian. Unlike the pilgrims who clung to the Bible for all of their ideas, the American...
And yet, we are sold the idea that it was manifest destiny, that Glob sent them here, etc. When the Christians took over and sold the story in their way, they even stole the story from the ancestors of the founding fuckers.
Founders were steeped in Enlightenment thought. They were brewed in Enlightenment's ideas, especially the writings of John Locke, Montesquieu, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. From these great thinkers, they drew ideas like natural rights, separation of powers, government by consent. I'm going to say that twice. Government by consent, which is in direct.
Which is another thing the history lies about and the founding fuckers lie about. Yes, those philosophers were fairly enlightened and looking for enlightenment. Where do you think they got it? Do you think they just came up with it? They're just brilliant. They came up with it all on their own. Go them. No. They got it from Morgan and Marx and Engels, who got it from the Haudenosaunee Nation. They got those ideas, those open ideas from the indigenous peoples that they would later genocide on this continent. The very way that the United States government is set up is a bastardization of what existed within the Haudenosaunee Nation, as well as other nations on Turtle Island, mixed with what their idea of it should look like, with their supremacy ideas, tainting it and twisting it and bastardizing it.
Conflict to imperialism and monarchy. These are principles that directly shaped documents like the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution, which are the founding documents written by the founding fathers during the founding of the United States of America. In so doing, our founding fathers broke from centuries of monarchy and religious authority, replacing inherited power with a system grounded in reason, individual liberty, and the will of the people. Not in the Bible, not at all. It had zero role in the actual founding of America. Very simply, by founding the United States, they sought to interrupt the empire. And the revolution was not just political, it was also religious. It was deeply philosophical. They weren't just fighting to overthrow the crown, they were fighting to overthrow theocracy itself, and specifically the ever-expanding holy hierarchy that sought to dominate and exterminate every human that stood in its way. Put a mental...
Very much that, which is such an important thing that doesn't get discussed. I'm so glad that she did this video. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you so much. Y'all are amazing. Those of you on Purple Team Twitch wants me to tell you that if you sign up for a 7-day free trial of Turbo, March 14th to 20, you can have 15% off at the Crunchyroll store. They have some sort of terms, but just figure I'd let y'all know that. I hope that y'all are enjoying this, and I appreciate you being here. I want to share this again because I very much want y'all to pay attention to this creator. She is giving you very important information and understanding about this movement. And with this information, you can fight against the systems that they're trying to put in place. Without this information, you will fail. You will fail to see how big the problem is, how deep it is, and where its tentacles are touching.
Pin in this thought because it's so important. I want you to read our Constitution. I'll link it in the description. Really read it today. It's an anti-dominance document. All men are equal. Yes, they forgot women, and yes, they were hypocrites because they still provided for the enslavement of humans, but they moved the needle. All of the founding fathers were well aware of Salem and other abuses and massacres in the name of Jesus. And
as a matter of fact, the very first president of the United States of America, on his exit address, warned against men like Trump. Very clearly warned against and told the nation never fall for this. And like lined it out what it would look like. It's pretty wild. It's almost like he could see the future.
The crown. Go read Nathaniel Hawthorne and the Scarlet Letter and some of his other works. They knew full well that religion was the tool that their empire and the Spanish Empire, under the Pope and kings and others, had used to dominate and decimate. And because the founding fathers were human.
That is also one of the reasons why many of us were made to read the Scarlet Letter, was an understanding of that political power, an understanding of what that sort of social oh my gravy, what kind of power what kind of power the church had over society, and what kind of social pressure you could put upon a person to guide their actions and behaviors. That's why many of us were made to read it, so that we could think critically through it and about it. Oh my goodness, gravy. Hello, Raiders. It's so good to see you. We are doing a Thursday call-in show. However, nobody is calling in. Nobody disagrees with my prompts. Everybody thinks I'm right, apparently. Which, you know, I probably am. Like, my prompts are just right. They're just objectively correct. And so, you know, I guess that's why nobody wants to call in and discuss them with me. But so we were just having some discussion about MAGA Wave 2, which are the Neo-American Christian imperialists, which, I mean, I'm thinking we call them nasty. Jenna put out NACI and something else, but I'm voting for nasty. Welcome in, Phoenix Dragon. I am so glad to see y'all flying from the nest to nest in with us here at the Shit-Ass Nation. We are so happy to have you here. Hello, Gale. I love y'all, your raid message. I need to get a raid message. That is such a beautiful raid message. Thank you so much. Y'all are awesome. And if you are not following Gale, you should be. Gale is a freaking delight and a pleasure, and also part of Transcend Media, an amazing conglomerate of awesome creators that I am blessed to be a part of. Y'all should be following all of these beautiful, beautiful humans, because they are out here doing the work and building community despite how evil and awful our administration and the right wing are. Welcome in, welcome in. So good to see you. All right, we are listening to this video from Life Take 2. She is discussing the fact that MAGA is not disappearing. They're evolving into something different. They're becoming something else, and it's tied to Project 2025 and colonization, new wave of colonization. And so we are watching and discussing this unless and until somebody gets brave enough to decide to tell me that my prompts are incorrect. I, however, think that they are correct. If you think that my prompts are incorrect in any way, shape, or form, you can call me and tell me so at 720-927-6768, extension 800. I don't know why I have to have an extension. I really wish I could change it to extension 666, but that would probably be bad. Then people would really never call. They'd be like, I'm not calling Satan, because, you know, scaredy pants and all that. Anyway, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Let's get back into it. Let me fix my things and stuff. I'm so glad y'all came. Thank you so much.
Feminists and deists and Enlightenment era thinkers, they were as opposed to a Christian nation as they were to a monarchy. The Constitution ended the age of empire, but there were still so many royalists, rich plantation owners, slave traders, financial masterminds, religious movements, etc., that were still here, and they kept the empire alive. We make the mistake of thinking that this stuff was so far in the past, it's not at play anymore, but my great-great-granddad's parents lived during the Civil War. My great-granddad, who I knew in my lifetime, was born in 1898, and my great-grandparents taught me Civil War songs that they had learned from their parents when they were literally current brand new hits. I am only 7 generations away from my Revolutionary War ancestors. This is recent history, and America is still being shaped by the dueling movements for and against the crown. These guys, the royalists, the pilgrims, the colonizers, they are the OG MAGAs. Donald Trump didn't invent MAGA. John Smith did. King George did. MAGA has always been here. It is our origin story. I come from Mormonism. Joseph Smith whined about the...
That is so important to know. We all just blow them off and assume they're this small niche cult. They have an immense amount of power, and they have always had an immense amount of power and an immense amount of money. They are the people that were killing the people that were on the Trail of Tears.
nastiness of 1820s America, how lewd the women were, corruption in the churches. He was obsessed with making America great again by returning us to our theocratic roots and the oppression of brown-skinned people. That's what the Book of Mormon and all of his writings were all about. Bring back the kingdom of God. He literally built a theocracy in Nauvoo.
Well, it's wild. It says I'm live. It shouldn't be. Here, let me give you the link. Huh. Let me see. And it's showing me live. It shouldn't be unlisted. Well, I was able to put the link in and go there. I don't know. Let me check this real quick. Sorry, y'all, give me just a second. Let me check some things real quick and make sure. No, I'm not seeing anything that would make it. Let me see if I should have added the dual stream maybe. No, everything looks fine though. I did not add a dual stream. Maybe I'll do that next time they're offering me that now, but that would probably look weird. No, it's unlisted. Okay, how do I fix that? Why is it unlisted? Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it. Oh my goodness, Gravy. Thank you for telling me that. I don't know why it did that. That is wild. That is fucking wild. That answers so much. Like, okay, thank you so much for telling me that, Fighting Gale. I appreciate your help there. Can you see if I just fixed it? I think I just fixed it. Let me also send y'all this link again. Oh my gravy. I didn't even notice that. I'm not used to the settings. They're different. I just changed it. I told it to change. And now I see it as changed. But I just want to make sure you see it as changed. Thank you so much. Oh my gravy. That is not my best most shining moment. Missing that. Yeah, I found it. Okay, awesome. Oh my gravy. Thank you so much, y'all. Holy, that is weird. I don't even know how that happened. Oh wait, it's because I think it just automatically did it because I unlisted last Thursdays because I had such a bad pain day and it was just such a terrible stream that I just unlisted last Thursdays, and so that I probably had that setting in here and didn't realize it. Thank you for telling me that, y'all. I appreciate you so much. I'm like an hour and a half in and the YouTube isn't even like going properly, but thank you so much for helping me fix it, y'all. I appreciate you so much. Holy. This answers so many things. Thank you, thank you, thank you for helping me. Y'all are the best. All right, back to it.
He was MAGA. That theocracy moved across the plains to Utah, and it still exists today. The Catholic Church in America answered to their foreign pope and did things like dominate the culture of the First Nations people by kidnapping their children and forcing them into Indian schools. I drive down Indian School Road in Phoenix, and it ends at where the old Indian schools used to be. The people who ran the Indian schools were MAGA before MAGA. MAGA existed long before Trump.
Note that she is discussing these fundamentalist Christian religions, these religions that are deeply patriarchal, the religions that are deeply oppressive and controlling, the ones that rely on purity culture and things like that. Pay close attention. It's very important because she came from there. She knows what they're trying to do.
And it will be here long after when I say that if MAGA collapses and everyone leaves MAGA, nothing will change until we change it. Here's exactly what I mean. I know this movement inside out. I spent the first almost 50 years of my life there. Neo-American Christian imperialism isn't about Donald Trump, and it will be here long after he's dead. And like a mutating virus, it learned its lesson from Donald Trump. And it will be smarter, better funded, and nicer the next time around. The packaging has changed, but nothing has changed since the 1500s, literally.
Nothing has changed, and they're replaying old methods. Now notice that it's going to be virtue signaling and purity culture stuff. They are using things like pro-life and stuff to try to control people. They're virtual signaling, they're morality signaling in order to wrap themselves in veils of innocence, even though they're trying to put brown people and black people in concentration camps, that they're trying to genocide trans people and queer people. They're wrapping themselves in cloaks of innocence. Their glob makes them sweet and isn't innocent.
The Mormons figured out how to repackage very successfully, making themselves $1 trillion corporation in less than 200 years. They started out with Mountain Meadows Massacre, a militia, burning printing presses, trafficking brides from Europe. That didn't end well. It resulted in the death of their self-proclaimed prophet and their own very well-deserved trail of tears from Nauvoo across the wilderness to Utah. My kids have ancestors.
I do not love that she equated that like that. I do not love that. Bad job, Jenna. Not okay. Your people genocided my people on that trail. Chikasha say yeah. And we still exist. And your people genocided my people on that trail. You do not get to use those words like that. You do not get to acquaint yourself with our harm. Holy shit, that triggered hard. I listened to this earlier and I don't even think that I registered that she said that. I'm not fucking okay with that even a little bit.
They have family members from the past scattered in unmarked graves along the Mormon trail. The Mormons learned from their mistakes, and they have now shape-shifted successfully, which is what MAGA is doing as we speak. Force is not the only path to expansion. My former church knows that well. My granddad had a saying, you attract more flies with honey than with vinegar. MAGA learned that sending Greg Bovino and Christine.
This is why they do that sweet and innocent damsel thing. This is why the trad wife thing are always these young little damsels that they've convinced to comply. And I, like Jenna, was a trad wife. I was convinced to be a trad wife by a man that I didn't realize was red pilling through the cult of the American military. And he convinced me that due to a high-risk pregnancy that I shouldn't work ever again. And I fell for it because I was young and ridiculous and thought that this is what you're supposed to do because we're raised in the society that tells us that assigns and grooms us to believe this. This is why we have to discuss how we socialize people. We have to discuss the harms of these faiths, most particularly these cult-like ones.
Into Minnesota was bad optics. Americans are too self-reliant and successful to be cowed by that bullshit. It blew up at them. Donald Trump bulldozing the White House wasn't the show of power and strength he'd hoped it to be. It pissed 70% of Americans off.
The reason it pissed the men off, the reason it pissed 70% of Americans off, the reason it pissed the men off is because the patriarch stood up and said, the power is ours, we're going to wield it. And the men that have been holding up and uplifting and propping up the scaffolding of the patriarchy all this time got squished under that and went, wait, we're part of it too. And the patriarchs went, no, the fuck you're not. Now hold our shit up for us, you little piss on. And that, because they finally found out that that privilege wasn't real, that they aren't entitled to that. That's why they stood up. They'll manufacture consent for harm to come to those of us that are queer. They'll manufacture consent to harm those that are migrants. They'll manufacture consent to harm those that are indigenous. They'll manufacture consent to harm black people. They'll manufacture consent to harm trans people, so long as they get to feel like they get to oppress people too, like they are not on the bottom, like they are not the oppressed parties. They are the oppressors. So long as they get to feel like they get to wield some of that power, they are perfectly content to continue to perpetuate the cycles that build that damaging and dehumanizing consent manufacturing cycle that will end up harming them too in the end.
Miller's blatant white supremacy is only resonating with my prepping cousins up in Idaho and my uncle-in-law Craig, who's a weird dude. And the Klan. Eating dogs didn't catch on as a slogan. Nobody's making that t-shirt as far as I know. The Gulf of America wasn't a hit. And Canada hates us now. Trump leaned way too far into old school British Empire imperialism, sparking actual no kings protests all across America. That didn't work. Okay, so here's what comes next. That's why you're here. Next is a smarter, richer, better organized MAGA. It's returned to everything about America that was toxic, but the new MAGA will dominate and expand, not with military force, pepper spray, bombers, and bulldozers, but with influencing the media, including social media and podcasts and branding, like how the...
And that is why we have to have these conversations. And that is why we can no longer give Christianity a pass. That is why we can no longer listen to somebody go, but I'm a Christian, and go and assume that they're a good person. No, assume that they will genocide your cousin. That is what you should assume. If somebody says, I'm a Christian, you should assume they will genocide your cousin. They will burn your mom at the stake. Because that is who they are. Because that is what their faith prescribes. Prescribes. Assume they are more than delusional. Assume they will hurt you to benefit their supremacy, their right to control and dominate and have the world look just like them. They do not want differences. Differences frighten them, which is wild because this world would be so boring if we were not as diverse as we are. And the diversity terrifies them. They need the diversity in order to feel superior, and it terrifies them. It terrifies them to be that other. It terrifies them that they could be disabled. It terrifies them that they could be queer. It terrifies them that they could maybe be attracted to somebody that isn't cishet normal. It terrifies them because they're always performing for each other, because somebody is always reaching in to their identity and saying you aren't good enough. And because they are groomed to believe this, because of these damaging faith systems, they continue to repeat that stuff that those groomers said to them. And then they continue to believe those things. And then they perpetuate and project them onto others. I'm talking all Christians. All of it is harmful. Just like it's all men until it's no men, Phoenix. When it's 95.1% of men between the ages of 8 or 14 and 34 that have done some form of SA between coercion and actual force, I wouldn't call that. I would never say an AM to that. It's 95.1%. And Christians that believe in the Bible believe that slavery is okay. They believe that pedophilia is okay. They excuse these things. They do apologetics for these things. They do not say that these things are wrong. And because that is the only way that you can navigate their faith in any real way, They either have to denounce all of those things or apologize for all of those things to excuse the belief in an abusive father figure who is more worried about his ego than his children.
Mormon Church now sends adorable little 18-year-old Utah and Idaho boys and girls across the world dressed in their Sunday best. And
that is another thing they do. They send young people into confrontational situations and expect the very young, groomed people to go to strangers' doors and convince strangers to believe in their glob. They rely upon our empathy and our love for youth, our desire to protect children, in order to come into our homes and groom us, in order to invite themselves into our homes, to invite their grooming into our children's lives.
trained to be cute and sweet. So the whole African continent is getting baptized into the Mormon Church. Turning Point USA is run by Mormon COO Tyler Boyer, who was Charlie Kirk's original partner just 2 years in. He's a Mormon returned missionary and a cousin of mine by marriage, according to my pedigree charts. According to Charlie Kirk, 50% of Turning Point USA staff is Mormon. Erica Kirk was literally quoting the Mormon Family Proclamation at a commencement address this week. J.D. Vance was asked how he felt about Usha not being Christian, and he said it was a problem for him. He hopes and prays she'll convert. It seems subtle, but the answer to that question right there, that's the future of America. It's neo-American Christian imperialism. I'm not going to force Usha into some camp where she is threatened into becoming a Christian. I'm going to pray for her, and I'm going to subtly change legislation behind the scenes so it's less and less advantageous for anyone to be anything other than just a white European Christian.
Use social manipulation and law in order to manipulate people into conforming to their religious beliefs, conforming to their way of life. Shame, purity culture. We've seen this before. This is history repeating itself. And you know what they say, those that don't know their history are doomed to repeat it, and those that refuse to teach accurate history mean to repeat it.
Here's the recipe. Subtle religious dominance. My faith is true, your faith is false. Hierarchy. Submission. The erasure of every culture except the OG British white people culture. When Pete Hegseth bombs...
Exactly, Carla. That triangulation is an important aspect of the abuse, and we don't always call it abuse. It's a type of psychological abuse, just like shunning, shaming, etc. are psychological abuse tactics meant to control a person into behaving in a way that you would prefer them to behave, rather than to allow them to make decisions based on their own thought processes to decide how to proceed. These systems need people to comply in order to maintain their power. And the patriarchal Abrahamic faiths are only about power, dominance, and control. That is all they are about. That is why there is so much grooming. That is why there is so much triangulation. And it makes people not want to be around them, and therefore show them the way out of the cult. And that is why it's so important for us to have places like Recovering from a Religion, because it is so hard. It is so deeply painful for people to unpack these patriarchal faiths that get so deep in, and they do begin the grooming so young, and it's so harmful, and it becomes a part of their identity. And then when they have to come face to face with the damaging things that this faith has made them excuse or made them do or told them that they are invalid for, and etc., it's deeply painful, and it's so hard to unpack that. And we can't just be cool about it and say, well, you're wrong, you believe in imaginary friend. And sometimes I want to do that. And sometimes it's valid to match that energy because they aren't going to listen in another way. And it's so important that we have real resources for people to go to unpack this, real places where you can go and have a conversation where you can be in the wrong and walk yourself to getting correct, where you can learn through a conversation how to see an issue from a broader lens, where you can take accountability in a safe way that lets you learn and grow from that mistake and things. And so this recovering from religion is one of the ones that I want to send anybody that is working on deconstruction or anything. They have hotlines, they have people there, they have communities. Go to them if you are needing to unpack this, if you are having struggles with deconstructing, and they can help deconstruct patriarchy as well. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're all here to help everybody, help each other deconstruct patriarchy and white supremacy. We were all raised in a patriarchal white supremacist society, and so we all have this stuff in us. Every one of us has it in us to unpack. And it's so painful sometimes, and it feels so hopeless sometimes, and it feels so big. So we have to try to lift one another up and point out the threads that we can pull on, because they did not build this tapestry with one dynamic. And so it's not going to be one thread or one dynamic we have to unravel to tear this tapestry apart. But we can do it. And the way we do it is we become more collaborative. We come together, we work together. We love each other through it. We share deconstruction spaces. We give each other the tools and the power to stand strong despite all of the things trying to tear us down, and find new ways to build structures that make those dynamics either negligible or unbalanced enough to collapse. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much for being here and having this conversation. Hard conversations are hard, and getting to where that we can have these conversations and discuss these things is going to take time. It's going to take energy, and it's going to take a normalization of sitting in a certain level of discomfort, you know, and that's so hard. You know, we don't want to sit in discomfort. I mean, discomfort sucks. Like, and that's part of negotiating through these systems in these processes, is that sometimes we have to sit in that discomfort. And that is something that our entire psychology is fighting against a lot of the time. It does not want to. However, that is a superpower. If you can sit through the discomfort to have a hard conversation and walk yourself through it back into comfort, that will become a superpower. That will give you the ability to deal with and manage any situation that comes for you. And it's an act of self-care. It's an act of self-care to learn to do that, to give yourself that power. And it's hard. And it's painful sometimes. And you're worth the work to get there, because it will give you the power to see your way around problems better. It will give you the power to navigate your own life better and your social engagement so that you don't lose out. Just because this society set up really shit systems does not mean that you should forego your all joy in your one life because these systems suck and they cause pain and aggravation and oppression. We should always be working to improve our interactions, every interaction. And just improving our interactions shifts things. When we change the example that we are setting in the world, it changes the world. When we shift dynamics of what we will accept, what we will manufacture consent for, and etc., we shift the way the world works. Excuse me 1 second, y'all. And there's a new way I like to think of this, that I was given this language from another creator, and it is like, instead of thinking of, now I don't know how to say this, my words just went because I tried to do two things at once. My bad, y'all. My bad. Holy. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. Let's finish seeing what Jenna has to say. There's not too much left of it, but there's like 3 minutes left, but I do want us to pay very close attention to this, and I'm going to throw this link again because I think it's very important that you pay attention to people that can tell you the way it works on the other side, on the side that wants to oppress us all. You cannot see the problem completely until and unless you can see their perspective. And she is a safe person to give you that perspective.
Iran for Jesus. That's the new era of this. My own best friend told me she's so happy we're blowing up Iran. This isn't a Trump thing. It's old school MAGA, NACI, NACI. Erica Kirk is the future of America. Family values that she isn't even living out herself. A marriage, heterosexuality, prayer in schools, being white. I lost one of my daughters to Erica Kirk. Have you ever been to Utah? America's future is the wealthiest ever Christian ruling class, building out a real life, slightly softer Handmaid's Tale, where college girls in California will go to jail for trying to order a morning after pill, where businesses hire men first and illegalize being openly LGBTQ, where Puerto Ricans singing at the Super Bowl are
Hire men only if they hire anyone. And nobody else will be allowed to have education. They're tearing apart the education system and making sure that people won't be educated, so they won't understand anything and they will just comply. That is an aspect of it. Also, the only way forward is through a socialist system. Socialist, communist, something like that. AI and robotics are going to come and take all jobs. They are. There's no way to fight it. They are automating, and that is what everybody has been moving towards, is automation. But with automation, there's job loss. And even with 10% of job loss, that's catastrophic for the country. That's catastrophic for the world economy, actually. So we have to move into a more socialist thinking way. We have to move into more socialist thinking and ways of being. That is the only way to survive this. And they are gaslighting and abusing people to be willing to die for capital, to be willing to die for the system or be enslaved by it. They are going to have to annihilate a whole lot of people to avoid paying them to be able to survive. They already made it so that you cannot survive in this world without capital. They've already done that. They've already succeeded in doing that. They took out all of the fruiting plants that used to just live in your areas. There used to be plants that just gave food. But the capitalists were like, no, you have to pay for food, and ripped them all out. And they are manufacturing consent to put people in cages. They are manufacturing consent to annihilate people. They are manufacturing consent to do all kinds of harm, and you're just sitting there going and drinking your mimosas like it's Tuesday. Tuesday in fucking hell.
of the past, which is pretty much everything that Utah currently is. What they really want is to turn our melting pot.
Oh yeah, planting food is a must, Carla. Everywhere you can plant it, and especially if you can find native fruiting things, things that are native to your area that are fruiting, that's even better because they'll probably adapt to the climate and stuff better. But yes, everywhere that you can plant food, you should be planting food. It's getting bad. It was $7 for a thing of tomatoes yesterday. And that's going to get worse because of the Strait of Hormuz and what they're doing. We're less than 2 weeks supply of oil, y'all. I mean, it's getting ugly.
Into a German furnace with smiles on them.
We really don't have the time to gain the level of education the average person needs. And we have to try to get the average person to suck up at least some of this. And there are some of us that know way more than the average person and still don't know enough. So they did their job well to put us on the brink of collapse. We have to unpack that, and we have to do it fast, and we have to do it together through building community, through lifting each other up, through modeling different, through changing how we interact, to building systems underneath the ones that exist that can lift us and keep us up off the ground while these collapse. Because they are collapsing. These systems are collapsing.
Their faces and a hymn playing in the background. I spoke to a MAGA friend last week about the economy and so many people struggling to get ahead and our need for some level of socialism economically. He said everything should be based on merit. If you don't...
And before anyone says, we don't need socialism, even the elongated muskrat has recognized that we need socialism, Boo Bear. Even some of the billionaires have recognized that we need socialism now, Boo Bear.
Work, you starve to death. He said it with a smile. That's our future. Marjorie Taylor Greene has left Donald Trump, but she's still as Marjorie Taylor Greenish as she ever was.
That's our current. Like, I hate that people keep acting like, and it's always like privileged white people that are like, that's our future. If you don't work, you starve to death. That's our current. That's been the norm for most of us, most of our lives. That's our current. That's the status fucking quo. Yeah, sadly, Carla, I am afraid that a lot of those billionaires' idea and version of socialism is company towns, which is why we got to get our shit together and get educated on what this stuff means so that we can design the next systems. And we have to start building them beneath this collapsing system yesterday.
She's our future. Here's a few comments that I took from this total white supremacist YouTube creator. I'm not even going to put her link in because she's so horrid. I don't want to drive any traffic to her page. This video was just very generic Klan stuff, and these comments were Sunday of this week, 2026. Comments made about Black people, and I do want to apologize for reading these. You have to...
Now, I usually would not show these comments because I agree with her. They're heinous and they're awful and it's disgusting. And if we don't actually address this, if you aren't looking at the comments, you are missing a really big part of the picture of what they're saying and doing and how they're moving and how they're grooming and how they're manipulating these systems and the people in them. And so we are going to go through this part. So this is about to get nasty. I'm gonna preface this with content warning, and so is she. This is heinous, y'all.
Know what they are thinking. These comments hurt my heart. I don't even know if I can read these all out loud. These comments are things that I would have heard around the dinner table with my family and have. Here we go. Cockroaches have been around a long time too. Their average IQ is below room temperature, and that's 18 degrees Celsius in the UK.
Guerrilla gardening is actually something people should do, especially with empty plots and spaces. Guerrilla gardening is an excellent way of fighting back, actually.
That's among skyscrapers. Extremely low IQ. Insects are everywhere. Before Europeans went to sub-Saharan Africa, the tallest structures were termite mounds. They were out-engineered by termites. MAGA didn't begin out of nowhere in 2015. It started over 1,000 years ago across the sea. It landed in America in pilgrim ships. The formula for MAGA was carried in the pages of the Christian Bible, which was used by the Roman Empire to do what the British and Spanish Empire would use it for later. The people of MAGA are unfortunately correct when they say that everything that they stand for is tradition. It was a tradition, a very toxic, deadly tradition. It's been going strong for a very long time.
Christianity has always been a very toxic, deadly tradition for anyone it deems as other.
Time until they crowned Trump as the king of their movement, and Trump almost ruined it with his Epstein ties and just his general lunacy. We should all be grateful for Trump because we see exactly how nuts he is. This next wave, it's going to be packaged like family values and a Sunday picnic revival. This next wave terrifies me. Here's the problem as I see it. People are leaving MAGA but going straight back into MAGA 2.0 because the old school Democrats suck. They suck so bad that millions of Americans, including Democrats, didn't trust them enough to show up and vote for Kamala when they knew damn well that the alternative was Trump's America. Erica Kirk is building a red wall, reinforcing neo-American Christian imperialism right here in our shared home state. We need to build a blue wave of resistance. And I'm sorry, but marching on sidewalks with our No King signs ain't gonna do it. The answer to the red wall is a new generation of revolutionaries who understand deeply what the founding fathers, the actual founding fathers, were actually about. We need more Deja Foxes who...
Thank you for the coffee, Mom. That was very awesome of you. I think that her blue wave thing is... I don't know. I don't trust the Democrats and stuff. That's why I believe that we have to build systems beneath. I mean, that is the system that we have right now, but we have to shut this shit down. Like, we have to allow the system to collapse and shut it down. And we have to survive that, which means that we have to build safety nets of people. Like, we have to lift us up. We have to save each other. We have to plant fruiting plants and different things that help us stay while this system collapses, because it does not matter what we do. There is no way to save the scaffolding of the system. It is broken. It is busted. It is going to collapse. And trying to keep this system from collapsing, this building from collapsing, is going to bury a bunch of people in the rubble. Do not allow that to be how our species ends, because this isn't just going potentially to end a nation. This could potentially end our species.
Run for office in their 20s, more Mamdanis, more Jasmine Crockett's, more Chris Volpe's, more James Talarico's. The current establishment Democratic Party is only 1 degree removed from MAGA.
Sorry, I disagree with that James Talarico bullshit. That is a white man that took a position of power and a voice from a black woman and from the black community. He can go suck a white supremacist fucking elf. I have said what I have said. I do not care how good he is. I do not care how lesser of two evils he is. He's a fucking white man.
They're all eating breakfast right now in their country clubs together, talking about their investment portfolios. They are the same. Those of us opposed to MAGA, opposed to expansion and dominance, are closer to the original 1770s patriots than MAGA will ever be. Remember that.
He ran against Jasmine Crockett and knocked her out of her seat fighting Gil. Because he thought that his white man voice was more important than her black woman voice, and that he should be the one with the power and controls.
And it's time we take back our country. Our movement is huge. Now we need leadership.
All right, the rest of that is just her doing her blue wave thing, and we all know that I actually disagree with the whole... I disagree with the blue wave thing. That's part of the problem, is that Dems, our opposition party, is the same as as it's one party, two sides of the same coin, one party, two factions. They're the same. You have not seen the Dems stand up in any real meaningful way, because they are here for this. They are here for this. They love money more than they love people. This system does not give a shit about anything but profit. And the people that really love their money and their privilege and their power do not want to give up any of it to share or gain equity. They do not care. They are sociopathic in that way, unempathetic. And some of them will be honest about that, and most of them will not. And we have to be honest with ourselves and each other. We have to build systems that will sustain us while this one collapses, because it is collapsing. It is collapsing violently and people are going to be harmed. And the only way to reduce that harm is to build systems that keep people afloat, to build community, to take back the thing that they stole that we need the most. Community, each other. Let go of misogyny, the patriarchy, unpack this shit, be willing to learn and grow, be willing to be less defensive and go to the mirror when you feel that defensive prick come along. That is how we survive this. If we can unpack this and we can come together in real ways, we can survive. We can build systems underneath this collapsing shit that will keep people alive. Will it be hard? Yes. Will it be ugly? Yes. Is it hard and ugly? Yes. Is it going to be devastating if we don't? Well, we're on an extinction path, so yeah. We have choices. Can choose to continue the Ouroboros eating its ass because it's ass flavored and they really likes that ass flavored ass. Or we can break out of that cycle, that toxic, damaging cycle, and find each other. Because that's what the patriarchy is afraid of the most. That is the tool that each of you have, no matter what else you have. Doesn't matter how much money you have or anything. What you do have is the ability to connect with another human and to help that human connect with other humans. Every one of us has that. The ability to make a connection. The ability to improve our connection with ourselves as well. And when we improve our connection with ourselves and how we talk to ourselves and how we treat ourselves, we then take that into the world and do that out in the world. And we set a new example, and that changes the status quo. And the status quo right now is pretty shitty. I don't know why anybody would want to maintain it. And once again, no one has called in. So all of my prompts are correct. Thank you for the validation. I appreciate it very much. I know that I should have known that I was going to be proven correct again. I mean, I am correct. I chose good prompts. So, you know, valid and fair. I know, I'm kind of a shit ass. It's okay. We call this place Shit Ass Nation for reasons. Yes, no, exactly. I agree with that fully. Yeah, you actually have to have energy and momentum to make a wave. Waiting on the DNC to save us is just resigning to oblivion. You are waiting on somebody that is never coming. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to save us. We save us. And that means we have to unpack this stuff. We have to unpack the patriarchy. We have to decide that each other are more important than whoever's reaching in your pocket and waving your man card in front of you. Or your capitalism card, or your woman card, or your person card, or whatever the hell they're trying to invalidate you with. All right, y'all. This has been wonderful. Y'all are beautiful, and I appreciate you for being here so much. Tomorrow we are going to do another live because I have had a heinous amount of arthritis pain and disability stuff the last couple of weeks, so I apologize. I do not have a well edited video for tomorrow. However, I do have an outline and a topic, so we will discuss live tomorrow. We are going to be discussing femicide tomorrow. So content warnings. Saturday we will do our music thing. We will have some music and games and break free of all of the ick. So please do come with your music links and be prepared to have some fun with that. I have tools now to manage some of this disability stuff. So with all the luck, we will be doing our games and stuff. I'm so sorry that I missed y'all this weekend. I really missed y'all. Y'all are always wonderful, and I did desperately miss y'all, but you wouldn't have wanted to be around me. And Sunday, we are going to have nerdery, and there is a potential surprise for like Saturday and Sunday. I may be getting a little bit of like fresh air and help with those days and some fun for y'all for nerdery and stuff. So Sunday we will do nerdery, and then we will take calls about how evil the Sky Daddy is. And then we will do this again, all beginning next Thursday. I appreciate y'all so much for being here. Please go forward. Do that thing you do. That thing you do of every time you say or think a bad thing about you, you say 2 good things about you out loud. New ones all day. You don't get to repeat the same ones. You have to come up with new ones. It's part of the hard thing that you have to do. I also hope that y'all try to have some hard discussions, even if it's with yourself and with your defensiveness. If you feel defensive about something somebody says, next time you notice you're defensive, check yourself first. Build a habit of doing that, and you will build a habit of having such a better chance of resolving issues for yourself and making less hard situations for you. Y'all are beautiful. If you can, please help us with the Ko-fi. This is emotional labor. And also, I need a mattress. I am having very bad issues, and I am having to sleep on the floor until I can come up with mattress money. So if y'all would not mind helping with that, that would be very beautiful of you and appreciated. All right, you lovelies. I will see you tomorrow. You're amazing. Go forward being good to you. Be good to each other, too. You've got to be good to each other, too. That's part of the rule. You know, if you learn how to be good to yourself and each other, maybe we have a chance. I would like a chance. Please help us have a chance. All right. I will see y'all later. Y'all are wonderful. Goodbye. For real this time. Goodbye. You gotta go. Now I'm turning things off. Now you gotta go. Oh, my gravy. I love you.